Welcome to Backstory and Beyond. My name is John Daniel, and I'm humbled to be your host. But I'm thrilled to be here with Mr. George Bell, who is the band leader, sir, for George Bell and Friends. But uniquely, George has professional skills and experiences both in business and in music that are phenomenal. And the reason why we're here today as a part two of Backstory and Beyond with George Bell is to look at the comparisons of business and music that he has learned. And he's learned them well because I know some of the employees he has, and I also know some of the band members. Sir, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you so much. God bless you and your family. Thank you for being here. The purpose of Backstory and Beyond is to look at calling and purpose and peak human potential and things that would allow us to see what service is to other people. So here today, as we delve into the parallels of Mr. Bell's business professionalism and his musical professionalism, we're making some comparisons. Sir, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, John, thank you for having me back. I always enjoy our conversations, and they are both enlightening and insightful to me because I always leave away learning something both about myself and about this wonderful work that you're doing, shining a light on the work of others. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. We're going to kick it off. And can you tell us a little bit, first and foremost, about how you gained access to learning music?
Well, it's really a story that's common to a lot of folks who start off in band. But mine is a little different in that I have an older brother who also played in the band. He started 5 years before me, and so I had a 5-year running head start on most of my colleagues in fifth grade. My older brother played trumpet, and with us being growing up in a small house in Thibodaux, Louisiana, I grew up listening to him practice, and that practice and those exercises became the soundtrack that I would use as what I wanted to sound like when I had the opportunity to join the band. I did so, and little did I know, those exercises, that sound became part of what I really wanted to emulate. And a big part of anybody doing anything is having a good example in front of them and being able to have that kind of exposure. So access to me, early access was good. And then that was further developed and honed in the school and the music programs that I happened to be fortunate to be a part of in Thibodaux. You know, that little community of Thibodaux that I grew up in was known for high quality music programs. And from elementary school, junior high school, all the way through high school. So I didn't fully appreciate that until I moved away and realized that not every community had that or offered that. So that was another one of those blessings that I was privy to, but didn't even know it was a blessing at the time.
You know, I'm aware that you just were in church playing yesterday.
Okay, yes.
And being from Philly, I could see Patti LaBelle singing in the church. You know,
Yep.
Gamble and Huff put a lot of people out there.
Yep.
But my point being is there experience in that church that impacted your music?
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I played in church when we had a youth choir, and my older brother also played. And here I am, maybe sixth, seventh grade.
Tell us his name again.
Milton Bell.
Come
Milton
on now.
Bell. So Milton, along with a few other musicians, we had horns as a part of the choir, the youth choir. And
I bet you that was jumping.
Oh, it was jumping, and it was for a young musician like myself. It was just a wonderful experience to play with older cats, older musicians that I'd forgotten about that until you raised it, brought it up today. And now, and I've always played in church, John. It's one of the things, and one of the reasons I have found to continue to practice and to keep my skills up, because that has always been an outlet for me.
I hear you, sir. I'm sure there are lots of things that you've gained insight into and a light while going through your musical career. You're a band director. You're a band leader. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about here. Leadership, both in business and in music. Mm-hmm. What kind of insights and lessons did you learn in the musical journey that you've taken?
Well, first of all, being a band leader now started a long time ago as a band member. I was in the band, I was in different ensembles, and I played in those ensembles. So as a follower of band leaders, I always knew that, in order to be a good leader, you have to understand and be a good follower. So I spent a lot of time following and being a good band member. It wasn't until I was given the opportunity to become a band leader in 2011, and quite frankly, I was reluctant to do that because I'd never really been a band leader of an ensemble like that, or a group. But I was asked to put together a concert after when I worked at the hospital, after a couple of years of just playing for patients, going into patients' rooms to play for them. Now, mind you, I did that because it was something that I saw that could bring joy to those patients and to those individuals. And I did it not to lead up to being a band leader or anything, but yes, because there was a need there. And those patients needed some form of being uplifted because they usually didn't have any visitors or support. So I worked with our physicians to create this opportunity to go and spend some time with them and shed a little joy, especially during the holidays.
Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
You did that without expecting anything in return.
That's correct. That's correct. I did that because it was something that I saw that could help those patients at a time when they needed it most.
I love it, sir. I love it.
Yeah.
What other kinds of things did you gain insight to? I mean, that's one salient point right there.
Well, so that service and that years of service and years of playing in church made me comfortable with my gift and also with my ability to share that gift. Now, you having the opportunity to put together a band that didn't exist before and to provide, to put together a show was an entirely different, set of skills. But I use I always talk about if you're going to build a team, you start with the best people you can find. You come up with an idea of what it is you're setting out to do. What is your mission? And then you create an environment for those individuals that you recruit and a structure that allows them to do what they do best. So when I was asked to pull together this group, I got the baddest cats I could find within the budget that I was given. And I pulled them together. I gave them a vision for what this show would look like, and we went ahead and worked towards that vision. But every person that I selected was handpicked, and they were picked because they were brought an instrument that I needed, and they also brought a temperament and a skill level that fit in to the overall scope of the group. And that to me is as important as almost the most important thing is, as it's as important as the vision that you have for it, but having the right people who fit into that vision and understand that is equally important.
There's an iconic athlete. Mm-hmm. His name is Tom Brady.
Yes.
Who shares something similar. He said, the team.
Yep.
You need to have a group of people with those diverse musical talents in this situation with a temperament to be successful. And here's a question for you. Mm-hmm. Is that about thinking about winning or the process?
Well, for this, it was more the process. It was more, we knew that we wanted to create a memorable experience, musical experience. And we knew that it was going to take certain elements of musicianship. It was going to take certainly selecting the right music that fits the group and the ensemble and the strengths of the ensemble. And then it was about execution. So we set out to do that and did just that. And so much so, it was so successful that we were asked to do it again, a follow-up. One of the other, there are a lot of lessons learned, but I always looked for, what are the measures of success? What are the things that at the end of the day will determine whether this was a successful endeavor or not? And I came up with three things. One is that it's an experience, a musical experience that people that would be at a high quality and people would leave wanting more. Number two, that it is an event that is well attended, so that it feels like you're in a place that other people are glad they're there. And then number three, that it has to be financially viable, that it has to be something that is successful. You need all three. You can have a very, financially profitable event, but if it's a poor musical event, then people aren't going to leave. They'll leave saying, "Man, what a waste of money." Or you can have an event that is a high quality event that is profitable, but there's nobody in the audience, and people are going to, even though everything was wonderful, people are going to feel like, I wonder why there were not enough people there. So you have to figure out how to make that formula work and hit on all three cylinders to make it something that is truly memorable. That is what led me to create a structure that allowed me to achieve all three.
George Bell, relate everything you just said to your 30 years in the medical business and your almost 10 years running a nonprofit that serves people at the highest level. How do those things relate to business, outcomes, activities, and measurements?
Well, the same principle applies to business, where you have to define, through some objective measurements and metrics, what success looks like. Once you're able to do that, then you can put in place the systems and processes to help you achieve that. And if you can do that on a consistent basis, that then gives you the kind of performance, sustained performance that sets you apart.
So let's take a couple topics there in business today. Having diverse skill sets. How do you create a team that has those skill sets coming from multiple backgrounds, coming from different instruments that they might use? I mean, it's the same thing in terms of skills in business. How do you go about doing that?
Well, first of all, you have to take the time to get to know the people that are on your team. Um, Before when I started at Capital Area United Way, I went around to every person on the team to find out and to ask them three questions. Number one, what are you good at doing? Number two, what do you enjoy doing? And number three, what do you believe God has called you to do, or some variation of that? When I'm able to understand and unpack those three responses, then that gives me insight as to how to, first of all, whether they're a good fit for that role that they're in, and number two, how to structure their work and their projects beyond just what they're doing. Because if I can create opportunities that they're good at doing, that they enjoy doing, and really ultimately feel like they are called to do, then they will give you 100% effort and will be in a better position to have success with the organization.
Sir, I love it. And it brings me to another question along these lines that parallel business and music. I've heard you say that one of the greatest experiences you had was listening to people listen to you, because you wanted to know whether or not they appreciated how you pounded on your craft with the trumpet. How does that relate to an employee and the skills that he or she needs to be able to be successful with customers?
Well, there are a number of aspects to that question. I think the first one is people feel, when people feel that they've been heard, that they are understood, they're more likely to want to understand you and what you're trying to do. So that's the first thing.
Hold on, say that one more time, please.
Yeah, when people feel like they've been heard and that they've been understood, they're more likely to be willing to understand what you're trying to do.
So you're saying they feel valued in that process. They feel like they belong in that process.
Exactly. And
please continue, sir.
And that is not a, it's not overly, you can overanalyze that, but it's basic things, John. It's listening to them. And it doesn't necessarily mean you agree with everything, but you do understand why they think a certain way or why they believe a certain way. And once you have that understanding, then that can give you the opportunity to respond, whether directly or indirectly to their needs.
I love it, sir. Another topic along the same lines and parallels.
Okay.
Mindfulness. Being in the moment as a musician is imperative. How does that relate on both ends, as a musician and as a professional in a business?
Well, so one of the things that's unique about music is that you may spend a lot of time preparing and working towards a particular performance. But once that performance begins, you're in the moment, you're in the presence. And that is so important, to be in the moment, to not be worried about what comes after or what came before, because you can't do anything about what came before. Preparation is key, but once you're in the performance, it's execution. And that ability to rise to the occasion and execute on demand that's golden. That's really what a musician strives for.
As a human being, that's important, to be able to express themselves and to see the response from other people. I don't think it gets better than that, sir. Any other thoughts on the kind of things you've learned and parallels between music and business that you learned in your journey?
Well, the other thing music has afforded me, and music, jazz in particular, is the ability to make adjustments in the course of that performance. So, there are there's the skill of reading the room. You've heard the term read the room.
Yes, sir.
To have that kind of perception, to have that kind of ability, and to be able to develop that is very important. And it goes a long way towards allowing you to be as effective as you can in different settings. So there are some settings where you may do things a certain way, but once if you are presented with a different set of circumstances, a different setting, you may do it entirely differently. Same material, but you may do it a little differently. And being able to make that decision and make it real time, that's really a hidden gift to be able to do that.
There's a skill there too. It's called emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not you can actually execute on that is different. But what I hear you saying are things that are key to successful business. That said, let's go a little deeper. What are the similarities and differences of business leadership and band leadership?
Well, band leadership is more, at least for me, it's what I do occasionally. It's not what I do all the time. I do it as in more of a project sense. I have different. The way I prepare for a concert, for example, the way I manage preparation for a concert is different from the way I manage preparation for a smaller ensemble, what have you. In business, you're managing a series of events and activities that are more sustained, and they are more. It's not coming in and out of it. It's managing on a continuous basis. So it requires a little more organization. It requires a little more thought as to how you navigate those milestones. But same principle applies. It's just managing it differently.
So the difference is time and the sustainability and the goals that are long term with the business. I get it. How do you create a culture both in the band and in business that values your employees, that embraces them in a way that they will bring their light forward? Because everybody has different gifts. And I think that's key. So it's part of that you talked about in choosing by hand each person that comes in. And you talked about, what they value, what leads them, why they would want to come to work and not drive by work. Please elaborate, sir.
And John, I can't stress that enough. Selecting the right people for the right role, for the right project, if it's a project, or for the right, at the right phase of the organization that you're part of, if it's a business, that's vital. But also, it starts with you, though. You have to be able to model the behavior, the attitude, the kinds of things that you would want to see in others. Work ethic, all those things are important. And how you do that, how you model that, there's a term, you can talk the talk, but you have to be able to walk the talk.
Yes, sir.
And it's one thing to say how things are, but you have to be able to walk that talk. And so it all starts with you, but it also starts with continues with how you embrace and how you manage those moments of truth that come up when things may not line up with the culture that you have tried to establish, and how you respond to that. I call those moments of truth. And then it comes with touch points, how you reinforce those things in the way you interact with your team and interact with your customers. And then the last thing I'll say is it comes back to there are those things that you do when when you think nobody else is watching, those things, that part.
Doing the right thing when nobody's looking. That's imperative. You know, as you were speaking about moments of truth, I'm reminded of Mr. Corbin McNeil, who was the president of Pico Energy. And there was a circumstance that happened. I worked there for 20 years. And at that point, I was director of economic development. And there was an explosion, a gas explosion at a home.
Wow.
Several people died. And it was unclear as to what the cause was.
Okay.
Corbin McNeil is a former captain of a nuclear Navy ship.
Oh, wow.
Very conservative, very straightforward. You very rarely see him without a tie, but he went on television without a tie. And he said, "We don't know who's responsible. We'll take the responsibility."
Wow.
We came to find out it wasn't us, but the appreciation of how he handled that moment was never forgotten.
Yeah. That's leadership, brother. That's leadership. And it's appropriate leadership for the moment. And that was a moment of truth. Even though he was not, they didn't know, but he didn't shy away from the responsibility that came with it. Yeah, I like that.
Sir, one of the things I've gathered from everything you've said is that creativity and imagination are also important in this process.
Mm-hmm.
And jazz is probably one of the most creative genres of music. And I'm curious about why that is from your perspective as a long journey man in music.
Well, I think it stems from the fact that jazz in and of itself is an art form that has the structure of other types of music, but it also has this freedom that gives through improvisation, it gives the artist the ability to express himself in a way that you don't find in other art forms. Now, it doesn't give you the freedom to ignore the structure or the form of music that you're playing. You have to be true to the style. You have to be true to the feel of the music. But within the confines of that structure, you have a lot of freedom. And the true jazz artists, the ones that I have grown to fully appreciate, are the ones that are able to do wonders and create these beautiful melodies within that structure. And it requires a high level of musical ability and to be able to do that. So yeah, that's and it can be as personal. I mean, there are certain artists you can listen to, and just from a few notes or their sound, you know that it's that particular artist. I mean, I can hear Wynton Marsalis solo, just a few notes and know that it's him. Or I can hear Herbie Hancock piano solo. I can hear a George Benson lick. They're just artists that have that kind of personality in their music. You just know that it's them, and it takes a lot to create that, because as an artist, you grow up trying to emulate the artist that you are most familiar with or that you like. But then somewhere along the process, you develop your own voice and your own sound. And that's the beauty of this art form and the rich history that jazz has afforded me.
You know, it would seem that that kind of listening skill, where you could hear a few notes from a Wynton Marsalis, is also applicable as a leader listening in a business circumstance to her or his employees, so that they're part of pieces of puzzle coming together so the picture looks right. And I think it's imperative for us to maybe go a little deeper on this. So with your experience in music, certainly the jazz genre is something that you appreciate. And what is it that business could learn from the spontaneous composition of jazz, given what you've also said? There is structure, there are outcomes, activities, measurements, there's a mission for what you're trying to do, but there's something about someone coming along with a new idea in a business circumstance that can take it to another level.
Well, the beauty of this art form of jazz, and it's like business too. There's always something that or someone that comes along with a fresh perspective, a fresh view, even if it's on an older structure or something that is, you can have a new twist on something that is very traditional, and that can make a powerful statement.
Yes, sir.
So being open to those new ideas, Miles Davis was known for his ability to create new and different styles and within the structure of jazz. And he did it because he was always looking for and always open to new and fresh ideas, and was always open to new artists who brought something different. So he never wanted to stick with the same thing that he had done 10, 15, 20 years. He always was looking to do something and to find something new and different, and did a wonderful job of that.
I think you and I appreciate that innovation of Miles Davis.
Yep.
There were a few in the background, though, that ridiculed him for not sticking what was considered traditional jazz. As a leader in business, how do you make sure, or how do you, to the best of your ability, assure that an employee with an idea can be heard, and that if there's the possibility of bringing it to fruition to create an innovation, it could happen?
Well, I will tell you the approach that I've taken is that I'm always willing to listen to new and different ideas, because it starts with the fact that I never want to get to the point where I think and believe I know it all, because I don't. I'll be the first to tell you that. So as a result of that, I'm always open to hearing what other ideas may be out there and what others have to say about that. Now, that said, there's a certain way to do that, so that you're not jumping from idea to idea without fully considering what's the best and most appropriate idea to run with. But I am surrounding yourself with people who have the freedom and the ability to think openly and freely about things, and not just looking to tell you what they think you want to hear. That to me is that's creating that safe space for folks to feel the freedom of being able to come up and offer their ideas.
Yes, sir. I much appreciate it. In music, there's a pause sometimes. How important is that pause in music?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. There's it's been said that the rest in music, or the pause is called a rest. It's just as important as the note itself. So if you're going to appreciate the note, you have to make sure that you are playing the rest as well. And when I think about phrasing and how important it is to create a phrase. For example, there's a reason there's a period behind us at the end of a sentence. It's to create a pause, a break. If all you had was just words that are continuous, that's a run-on sentence, and it doesn't make sense. Some phrases, some things don't make sense when they just run together continuously. The same with music. You need to have those pauses, those breaks within the framework of the music to make it make sense, and that's the importance of rest.
Understood, sir. And so, what about the actual note? What makes that important in music?
Well, certainly the tone of the note, the sound of the note, the context that note is played within. All those things come into play. But also making sure that note is properly executed in the characteristics of the instrument, or whatever it is, so that it fits and is appropriate for the statement that you're trying to make. Notes are just notes until they're put in a framework that allows it to make sense and to
How does that relate to making a quote unquote mistake in music and in leadership for business?
Yeah. So mistakes are a part of it, but it's what follows the mistake is what makes it, is what determines whether it remains a mistake.
Speaking of Miles Davis,
exactly. Some of the best phrases and best ideas that he's come up with. I think it was Miles that said, have come from mistakes, things that he didn't intend to do, but did it, and it, but it's the note that follows, and it's what follows that makes it make sense.
Absolutely, sir. We live in a world right now that is transformative, whether it's media, whether it's politics, whether it's the economy. Things change. We need change, grit to get through this world. And I'm curious in parallel, looking at both your band leadership and your nonprofit leadership and your business leadership. They're both businesses, nonprofit and profit. What are your thoughts on how to manage change, to have that change grit, that strength? Because change is not going to stop. What are your thoughts, sir, both in business and music?
Well, change is inevitable in business, in life, and your ability to navigate change, to embrace change, is a part of building your resilience. And I have found that if you're unable to adapt to change, to recognize change, and if you're unwilling to make the appropriate adjustments so that you can embrace that change, it really can set you back. So I have found that embracing change, recognizing the need for change is very important, and it's been the key to my ability to remain relevant, to remain viable at a time when it becomes increasingly more challenging for organizations and for individuals to to remain viable.
Sir, I have two more questions, and I'll tell you what they are up front. If there's anything that we haven't covered within this context, very narrow context, that you want to share, I'd like you to do it. I'd like you to just take a moment, take your time, and just share in your thoughts the parallels, both in music and in business, that you've learned as a leader. Now, some of this maybe we talked about already, but there may be some conclusive thoughts that you have. I want to give you that opportunity.
Well, first of all, business, music requires a mastery of in leadership, I guess, in both, requires a mastery of understanding a diverse pool of people. You know, your ability to field and interact with diverse individuals and really thrive in that space can make you very effective as a leader. Now, it's not to say that you won't have challenges in doing so, but your ability to navigate that, to embrace that diversity, and it's part of the change that's occurring. And it's not just male, female, young, old. It's the full spectrum of diversity. Being able to work effectively with different types of people, different settings, that is vital. That's vital to being an effective leader. The other thing is the ability to lead people when it's not as clear what the circumstances or what the challenges are. You know, not having all the answers, leading people through uncertainty is definitely an art that's needed, because, you know, I'm reminded of the pandemic. We were all faced with a set of circumstances that no one had ever experienced. Everything was new. Everything was different. Yet we still had to lead and be effective in our leadership of our teams during that time. And unless we were able to embrace those changes, embrace new technology, working in a virtual environment, dealing with this unknown virus that was wreaking havoc on our society. All those things required a certain level of dexterity on our part to remain effective.
You know, it reminds me of pounding on your craft as a musician. You have to be curious. You have
Yes.
to want to know. And right now we live in a very incurious society, and it gets worse generation to generation. But somehow we have to come together and build that curiosity. It leads to imagination and to innovation. What's clear here to me is the need for leaders to promote that curiosity. Do you do that in the course of your work?
I like to think so. And John, I have 4 grandkids.
Yes, sir.
And you talk about curiosity. They taught me how to embrace curiosity, their curiosity. And they did it in a way that I didn't even realize. But when you think about the time and the era that they're growing up in, they have all of this information at their fingertips, in most cases with their phones. They can Google information that, you and I had to go into a book, an encyclopedia or what have you, and it would take sometimes hours, days for us to really pull that information up. They can do it within minutes, within seconds in some cases. So their curiosity and their ability to access information is off the charts.
And they can do that, George, because they have media. conventional, social, the internet.
Right.
It's so critical to what we're doing if we want to share pearls of wisdom to any of the generations.
Right.
Please share your thoughts on, how media can be used. As I'm preparing to go to the IBC convention. It's the International Broadcast Convention. I fully intend to use footage from this interview to share with them because you're one of the unique people in the world who is a professional both in music and in business, profit and nonprofit.
Yeah.
Makes you very unique, sir. So your thoughts should be appreciated. But in your mind, and you started with your grandchildren, you couldn't get more important than your grandchildren.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts about how media should be used? And let me just, before you answer that question, media has not been curious because there are many media companies that no longer exist.
Yeah.
And they're changing and transforming every day. As a matter of fact, the democratization of broadcast has made it such that people like myself come along. Mr. Evan Pyro, who is here doing phenomenal things in terms of being a cartographer of media. At the end of the day, what do you think from your perspective as a leader of a band, as the leader of a formidable nonprofit, as the former leader of medical facilities and an executive there for many, many years? What are your thoughts about what media needs to do to support the people it's serving?
So here's the challenge, and it's a dilemma of sorts. There's an abundance of information out there and available, but as you and I both know, it's not all accurate. So media, I think, and really listeners and consumers of information have to become more discriminating in what they allow themselves to embrace. An abundance of information doesn't always relate to an abundance of truth. And we have to be very careful not to mistake information with truth.
Hold up, stop. Give me a pound, brother. Give me a pound. And I want you to say that again, please.
We have to be careful not to confuse an abundance of information with an abundance of truth.
So there's information,
There's a difference.
there's misinformation, and there's disinformation.
Yes.
And one has to be discerning and educate themselves enough to know the difference.
And if we're in a position of being a sharer of information or a distributor of information, we just have to be careful not to perpetuate misinformation or disinformation. That to me is the highest calling that I think we have, the responsibility that we have as leaders and the folks that are involved in this space.
That brings me to a spiritual notion. How each of us governs ourselves as we walk through the day. We can walk with positive emotions in spite of circumstances that might not be positive, or we can walk with negativity. And what we walk in will spill over to other people.
Oh, yes.
And so as we are both Christians, we know likening ourselves to Christ makes a big difference because there's going to be love, there's going to be kindness, there's going to be forgiveness. And those things are needed in business. And certainly, if nothing else in music, you feel emotion. You have an expression I'd like you to offer about the soul, please, sir.
Yeah, so I've always felt that which is from the heart touches the heart. And if we can govern ourselves that way, whether it's in the words we use, the words we say, or for an artist, how you express yourself musically, it will touch the heart of the person receiving it. And that is the ultimate goal for me, is to be able to touch the hearts and souls of others through what I say, what I do, and how I make music.
I love it, sir. Come to the final question as we close. Not our final conversation, but the final question for today.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we missed that you want to share?
Well, we covered a lot of ground, John, and I think we have. I've given the listeners a sense for how closely aligned my journey in music as a music lead, as a band leader, and my journey as a business leader have been, and how they parallel. The other thing I will share is that, there are a lot of folks out there who may have once played music or may still play, but only, in the closet, like you. Like you. But I encourage, if you have the desire to do that, follow through on it, man. Make some time, create some space to allow yourself to explore that. And then once you do it, even if it's just for your kids, your grandkids, even if it's just to go cheer up somebody, allow yourself to use that gift, that talent, to uplift someone else. And through that process, there's a blessing, not just for the person that you're doing it for, but for yourself. There's a fulfillment, there's a joy that comes with being able to do that I can't describe, man. It is wonderful to be able to do that.
Brother George Bell, what I hear you saying is music is love, forgiveness, and kindness.
Yes.
Take it to business too.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for taking some time with us. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir.